couple of months ago, my fiance Nikki and I took a weekend trip down to Bisbee, Arizona. Bisbee is an old copper mining town that's nestled in between the Mule Mountains of southern Arizona, just 11 miles from the US-Mexico border. What I find so cool about Bisbee personally is its kind of wacky elevation. Being a town that's sitting in between this mountain range, a lot of the neighborhoods are actually just scattered throughout the hillside, making hill climbing and walking around kind of a necessity, and traveling by car not really necessary. So it makes for some really interesting compositions, having all of these houses kind of scattered on different elevated levels. Aside from that, this town is extremely artistic. Back when the mine shut down, a lot of people left the town, making real estate extremely cheap, which allowed a lot of artists to move in and purchase property for a relatively low price. So walking around town, you'll notice tons of murals, paintings, sculptures, and it was really interesting to just walk around and look at stuff. On this trip, I brought with me my Mamiya 7, as well as a ton of different film stocks, mostly Portra 160, 400, and 800. So with all of that out of the way, we arrived in Bisbee during midday, we checked into our hotel, and then we headed out onto town to find some cool photos to take.
Every day I walk the floor and think of you.
Look how small that is. Oh my gosh.
The Lord will see me through. Every time I think I find a love that's true, I fall right back to walk the floor and think of you. Once there was a time when I had everything, and once around my finger was a wedding ring. But like a fool I threw away the love we knew, and now alone I walk the floor and think of you. Walk the floor and think about the home we shared. But lonesome halls and empty walls are all that's there. So for now your memory will have to do. Each day and night I walk the floor and think of you. Walk the floor and think about the home we shared. But lonesome halls and empty walls are all that's there. So for now your memory will have to do. Each day and night I walk the floor and think of you.
We were pretty hungry after the long drive and walking around taking photos all day, so we decided to stop, take a break, and get some dinner. After that, we headed over to an area where we could check out the lavender pit and catch the last light of our first day in Bisbee. It's a little stinky. The next morning, Nikki and I got up early, took a little walk around town, looked at a bunch of the cool art, checking out some cool signs, and we then headed over to grab ourselves a cup of coffee. So it was as we were sitting down, drinking our coffee, where we began to realize that flies were becoming a bit of a problem. At the time, I didn't know if it was just the time of year we were there, maybe the flies were a little bit active, but they were everywhere. It was after doing a little bit of research that we realized flies and Bisbee kind of go hand in hand together. There's a news story from 1912 basically talking about how the fly problem became so bad in Bisbee, they basically declared open season on the fly population, and whoever could kill the most flies and present it to the leaders of the town, they would receive a cash prize. In the end, I have no idea how they were able to accurately tally this, but the town ended up killing 500,000 flies. The winner of the cash reward killing 5,000 of those flies. Unfortunately, this did not solve the fly issue. It's reported that they came back worse the next year. So they just decided to live with it, I guess. I don't know. But surely the fly problem wasn't going to be a problem for us, was it? Probably not. There's the mine.
Yeah.
After getting a closer look at the ginormous open pit mine, we took a short 2-minute drive down to the neighborhood of Lowell, where there was a street lined with tons of cool vintage shops and of course some awesome antique cars. Wanting to save on film for golden hour that afternoon, I decided to walk around, do a bit of location scouting, and I brought my X Pro 3 just to take some quick digital snapshots. Something that I never really do when I'm out taking photos is actually just leaving the camera behind and just going out for walks and enjoying the scenery. And that's exactly what I did. I left everything behind except for my video camera, and I just went out, took a little walk, enjoyed the scenery, and it was very helpful to just be present in the moment, not having to worry about taking photos, and just look for some cool spots to potentially take pictures of. And I think it ultimately worked out well in the end. Having discovered a pretty cool route and checking out some spots that I was interested in photographing, I returned back, picked up my camera, dragged Nikki along with me, and then we headed out once more. So remember that little fly problem that I mentioned earlier? Yeah, it wasn't getting better. So the nicer the weather got and the further up the mountain we got, the worse the flies were getting. And they were just coming out in droves. So the regular flies that we all think of when we hear the word fly, there were plenty of those. But what was really bad were these little teeny tiny gnat-like things that were just absolutely insufferable. I was a pretty sweaty boy. I was climbing up lots of stairs. I was working up a sweat, and just walking along the roads, it felt like I was a walking sticky fly trap. These little tiny gnats were just flying into my face, and they were basically dying on my face because the sweat, they were just sticking to it. So needless to say, I was extremely uncomfortable. Not exactly the kind of chill film photo vibe you're looking for when you go out to take photos. Bugs are bugging. I felt really horrible for Nikki. She was such a trooper helping me film this whole thing. But there was definitely a point in time where I could tell that she was slowly starting to lose her mind a little bit.
Humming the flies away, the flies don't exist. They don't exist, they're just existing in our brains.
So yeah, after that was basically the end of all the photos and ultimately the end of our Bisbee trip. After all those shenanigans, we rewarded ourselves with a couple of beers, and then we turned in the night for some much needed rest before heading home the next day. I had an absolute blast visiting this town. I really feel like I created some of my best work to date after visiting. And yeah, just super proud of the work that I got out of this. For a while now, I've kind of had this idea of creating some sort of publication, whether it's a zine or a book that in some way focuses around traveling around my home state of Arizona and just capturing all sorts of places around the state, whether it be small towns in general, old mining towns like Bisbee, ghost towns. There's a ton of cool places to explore. I don't know, I feel like that idea has a chance to become something greater someday. What it exactly is, I don't know, but that's kind of the idea, and it's sort of what my plans are going to be in the future. I do have an idea for another town that I want to visit. I don't want to say what it is yet, just because I haven't started planning it and I don't know when that is going to happen, but I will be sure to make a video similar to this, just because this is the type of content that I really enjoy creating and what I like watching on YouTube, and I want to put my own spin on it and document that process. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to leave a comment, subscribe, do all those things. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.